Andy.
Welcome in to that episode of Cheese Focus Live. We've got a full show for you today. We're going to do a little trade recap, talk about the Uche trade, why we think it was made, how we think it's going to work out, all that fun stuff. Then we're going to move to a quick game recap. We've got, obviously, the Raiders game to talk about, what we thought about that game, offense, defense, and all that. And if there's time left, I have a hot take on the AFC West that I have not told anybody yet. So JP doesn't even know what it is. So we'll go from there. My name is Quentin Morris. We got Thiz running the show in the background. And now a guy who is moving as much as Brett Veach is the old man himself, JP.
What's up, man?
Not so bad.
Heard you guys got decent weather the last couple of days, huh?
Yeah, it's ridiculously warm here, and it's dumb.
Well, they're saying like Chicago and pretty much from Chicago all the way east is going to be in the 80s for Halloween.
I want it to be cold. I want my cold weather. You know,
well, you'd love it here right now.
Yeah, I want like, crisp, like 33 degrees. You know, that's what I'm hoping for. I want it cold, man.
Yeah, it went from 70. What's up, Philip? It went from like 72, 73 to whatever the hell it was today. And last night it was friggin' cold. I mean, rained all night, half the day. Tonight it's going to be 24 degrees. Just that quick. Just dropped.
Good.
So
good. Let it be cold.
Yeah, maybe you'll get what we're getting because we're not too far away. So. Yeah, I'm happy with. I mean, look, I'm okay with. I don't like it when it's stupid hot. I lived in it for 11 years. That's just ignorant. But I got to get acclimated to this cold again. After being away from Kansas City for 11 years, cold is it's hard to get used to. But the good thing is you can warm up easier than you can cool off. So
that's true. I can always put on more clothes. There's only a certain amount I can take off before I'm not allowed within 50 feet of a school.
Yeah, very true. I mean, and if you're, you don't want icicles hanging off your nuts, and that's not fun. So, anyway, let's get into some football news because it's been a very active week, and it looks like it's going to get a little more active before the trade day lines up.
Yeah, so Kansas City made a trade yesterday as they moved to add assistance in the pass rush department as Kansas City has traded for Joshua Uche from the New England Patriots. Kansas City is sending a 2026 sixth-round draft pick in order to attend the services of Joshua Uche. Uche is a former second-round draft pick by the New England Patriots. He's had one phenomenal year with 11 and a half sacks. That was when he was next to Matt Judon, probably the best New England defense we have seen over the last couple of years. And it just looks like that, New England is looking to move on from a guy. This is sort of that perfect Veach move that we talk about. We always joke about him falling in love with former first-round picks.
Yeah.
And this pretty much falls into that same category. This seems like a guy that was on their draft board that they were interested in, but they were never able to actually sign or to draft. And so, I'm sure on the whiteboard in the office, his name's been on the board for a while. So being able to bring him in, Kansas City does need help in the sack department. Joshua Uche coming into Kansas City, he has 2 sacks on the year. That is now tied for the second most sacks on the Chiefs already. Kansas City is just not working out well in the sack department. But before we get into some of these numbers, JP, I'll let you give your thoughts on the overall trade.
He's a great player. He was a great player in college. He's a great player now. People tend to forget that some players just don't work out in certain systems. And that's just kind of how it played out for him. He wasn't happy there. Don't blame him. A lot of players aren't happy with teams that struggle. But when you really look at his overall play, the guy's extremely fast off the edge. Very athletic. We have been missing that, and I'm not downgrading FAU in any way, but he's young. He's learning. This kid just has it. And getting back to what Veach said, or Veach does, I should say, he's a full circle guy. He knows when a player goes to a certain system if they're going to work out or not. And he usually gets, if he's on the draft board for Veach, Veach doesn't get him, he'll get him back. He will get him back. It's happened numerous times over the years. He's just one guy that never lets up when it comes to getting the guys he wants. And he's done it. I mean, look, he's tried. You can go back to D Hop. He tried 3 or 4 times to sign D Hop at different times over the last 7 years, and it just never worked out for him. It finally did. D Hop was fed up with not playing meaningful football and having terrible quarterbacks. He wanted to go. He wanted to come here before. It was just a money thing. And I don't look. You can't blame a guy if you're getting offered, 6 times the amount of money that the Chiefs are going to offer you at that point, or even 3 times the money. It's just full circle for him. Veach just knows what he's doing. He knows how to pull the right players. Andy knows what players are going to fit. Spags definitely knows what players are going to fit in his defense. This kid, I mean, FAU, I'm sorry, but you just lost your job. And man, just think about this: when Charles Omenihu comes back, which it sounds like he's getting ready to, he's going to be going on his 21-day pretty quick. That's going to be a dangerous line with those guys, with Chris Jones, Charles Omenihu, and Uche. This is going to be crazy line. And then Karlaftis, of course.
Yeah, I would push back on you in the notion that this is to replace FAU. I think that this is more of a, Mike Dana may not be as healthy as we want him to be type thing. I just think that this is more of a depth move. I think we've seen improvement from FAU over the last really month. I even think in this game, this game being the Raiders game, we saw him get pressure on the quarterback more. I think FAU is making progress on what he is, and that was actually one of my game notes when we talked about the Chiefs' defenses, is that FAU, I think, is improving. But in terms
he's not going
of
to be starting after this. I'm telling you now.
Well, FAU, he was already a rotational piece. So I think Uche is a rotational piece that they're going to put in there. I don't think we're going to see, a ton of guys consistently play on that one side. I think Karlaftis is a steady mark on the right side. And then when it comes to the left side pass rush, I think that it's just going to be whoever doesn't need to take the Anthony Richardson oxygen, whoever doesn't need to sit out for a little bit. So,
well, I'll bet you a bottle of Gates Extra Hot barbecue sauce that he's going to be playing probably 90% of the snaps after his first week or so being in Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be playing 90% of the snaps.
But he does. You're going to owe me a bottle of Gates barbecue sauce.
Well, you'll owe me something. I don't know what you got out there, but
I live in the sticks, dude. I don't have much of nothing, but I can send you some really good apples. They got great apples here.
The Chiefs pass rush, I just wanted to add some context to this. So the Chiefs actually have a pretty good pass rush in terms of pressure rate. They have a 38.9% quarterback pressure rate, which is sixth most in the NFL. The problem is that Kansas City only has 15 team sacks this season, which is tied for the 7th fewest in the NFL. They are just not able to finish the job. Now, I've been saying this for a while now. I'm going to continue to say it. Sacks are a quarterback-driven stat. Pressures is a defensive pressure stat, or pressures is a defensive-driven stat, because there are so many things that a quarterback can do in order to prevent him from getting sacked, or can run himself into a sack, right? We've seen quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes has done this before. Russell Wilson, for years, this was a problem for him. Where
it's still a problem for him.
Right, where, if he rolls out into the pocket and, you take too many steps back, well, that pass rusher who wasn't going to get pressure because the pocket was clean, but because he took too many steps back, that tackle is now completely screwed on his blocking scheme. And so now the quarterback's going to get sacked, right? Stuff like that, where sacks are driven by that. And then on the flip side, on sort of the positive side, we talk about all the time about how good Patrick Mahomes is at avoiding the sack, because he is able to either step up into the pocket, or he's so good about faking guys out and getting, out of the way. So I'm not worried about, the low number of sacks. And I'm actually having almost a 40% pressure rate is phenomenal. I mean, you're talking a little less than a coin flip that on every drop back, Kansas City's going to get some sort of pressure on an opposing
Yeah,
quarterback. That's
yeah,
huge. It's why that part of the reason why this Kansas City defense has been so effective on the backfield, because if you're able to put pressure on the quarterback, you force them to make errand throws, bad decisions, quick decisions.
yeah,
I mean, think of how many big plays we've seen this year. The San Francisco 49ers game comes into mind, right? When a ball was supposed to be thrown right at Brandon Ayuk, it was just a little bit outside of his reach, and it was
yeah.
because Brock Purdy didn't have enough time to set his feet. These are the kind of things that we're consistently seeing, and the stats can tend to back that up. So to get a guy who is coming into this team who has had a double-digit sack year and who consistently has had productive quarterback pressure numbers, I think that this is just going to add to what is already the best defense in the NFL in a spot to where you could never have enough pass rushers in this league, because you can continue to rotate guys out, keep guys fresh. So where you have situational pass rushers that can come on the field late in games, and while maybe your main guy is worn out, you can have this fresh blood come in and you're just ready to go.
And I think that's what we're going to see with Uche. I think he's going to be that guy that may get a little rest here and there. I'm just telling you, this kid's good. And if Spags sees something out of him that he's not seeing now, he's going to implement him in a lot of scenarios. This kid just, I mean, you look at that right there. He is so quick off of the ball. Watch this play. I mean, it's insane. Look at this. He just, that was maybe what, a half a second. That's all he gave him. And that really wasn't a blitz situation. That was just him coming off the edge. He's the guy that we have been missing since really Frank Clark playoff days. He's that guy. And I think he's going to be that guy for Spags. Spags knows, and this guy's going to come in here with a totally different mindset. Everybody that comes here from a different, especially a scrub team, they come in here with a different mindset. Look at that, dude. He's just so fucking fast. They come in with a different mindset, and I think they just automatically get hyped. And when they get hyped, they're ready to play again. It's a whole new level. They know it's a 90% chance they're going to get a ring. It's something that I think is going to change our defensive line completely. And when Omenihu comes back, it's going to be scary. Scary. I mean, Omenihu's about ready to come back now. He was ready to come back 3 weeks ago. His doctor cleared him, said he could play this year for sure. And he was a week or so away from really getting on the football field. So I think they're going to open up his 21-day window pretty quick, because I know he wants to be in. Andy wanted him in by week 10, and that's just about enough time.
Yeah, and if you're bringing in another pass rush, and if he can be effective, you don't have to force Omenihu to take a ton of snaps, right? You can slowly work your way back in. You aren't forced, or you don't feel forced to take, a few extra snaps. If he's trying to get back onto the field, and even if he's in a game and it's just like, hey, you know what? I think I don't know how much more I can go. I've missed a year of football at this point, so that's okay because we have somebody else.
Exactly. To answer Will's question, yes, they're looking at both sides right now. I think it's probably going to be. It might be a little more difficult right now for another wide receiver, but they're still looking. And I know that's more of a passive thing compared to the cornerback situation. I think they're definitely going to grab a cornerback if they can, because they're kind of thin now in that position. Even though we have players that can really play dual roles, we're still a little thin there now with Johnson being out for the year and, everybody else that's injured. It's time, and I believe he's going to sign somebody. I don't think it's going to be before this game. It might be, and it could happen. Look, I'm not going to say it's not. That D-Hop situation happened from midnight to 6 a.m. So when he gets his mind set on something, he gets it done. And he's got enough money right now to where he can sign one, if not two players, and still be okay. But I believe it's probably going to be cornerback before it's another wide receiver. Juju's coming back. Um, with Brown looking like he's going to come back for the playoffs, and Pacheco being back, I think it's going to be a corner. And when it happens, it's probably going to be somebody that nobody expects, and everybody's going to be excited about it. He's not going to go after. I don't think he's going to go after a big name guy, but you never know with him. If he gets him cheap enough, he'll do it. So, but to answer your question, yeah, he's probably going to get another at least another cornerback might in the next week or so. So
Yeah, trade deadline what? Wednesday?
Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern is
Yeah.
4 p.m. Eastern. So he's got some time. He makes things happen. I mean, he never sleeps. So the guy's got a cot up at Arrowhead. Andy's got a cot up at Arrowhead, and they basically sit up and just try to get this shit done. Their goal right now is a three-peat, and he's going to go all in to get it. Just like the Ravens are thinking they're going all in by getting Deontay or whatever his name is, Johnson from the Panthers. Excuse me. Veach is going all in as well, and he doesn't have to go and get every player on the market. But or every big name player, I should say. Everybody thought he wasn't going to sign anybody over 30. He did. Don't expect him to miss on someone that will definitely help this team because he'll do it. And Spags is beating the tables for it too. He knows he needs somebody else out there. McDuffie can't do it all. That's for sure. He's tried. He's done a good job of it, but missing Snead and then having two of your best corners go down, it's not easy. And one of them you thought was going to be one of your better corners, and he struggled a little bit and then went down. So it's going to be interesting to see who he ends up picking up. But Philip really wants Tre'Davious White, which I wouldn't. I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to leave the Rams. I could see that happening. I can see him getting him because we trade well with the Rams, and he's a really good ball player. And like Philip said, we run cover two at a very high rate. He's the best in the cover two system. He hasn't really been playing that. He hasn't been in that system with the Rams. So it's White's $1 million. Not even that really he'd be right around $1 million for the next 10 games, if not a little less. We got 10 games to go and then the playoffs. So we've got time. We just have to get people in quick enough to acclimate themselves to the system. Good thing about defense is it's not as hard to acclimate as it is a wide receiver or even a running back for that matter that's never been in our system. Defense is a little bit easier. You're going to see a lot more of D-Hop coming up in the next week or two. You're going to see a ton of him, and he's going to really make a difference. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. But yeah, that's what the plan is. Now, whether they get somebody to trade with them other than the Rams, maybe they do really well with the Rams, with the Vikings. They actually do, weirdly enough, they do halfway decent with Miami as far as a trade partner is concerned. But not a lot of teams want to trade with us. So it's going to be an NFC team that does. The Eagles will probably never trade with us. That Super Bowl loss really stuck in their craw, and I don't think that's ever going to change. But we have some NFC teams that will trade with us, a couple of AFC teams that maybe trade with us. Strangely enough, we trade really well with the 49ers. We've traded extremely well with the 49ers over the years. Now, they're struggling this year. We've spanked the shit out of them for all these years now. I don't know how well that's going to do at this point with a trade partner, but Seattle's trade with us pretty well. We've got some options. Really depends on who's going to fit in our system the best, and that's really how it plays out. And they don't really go after people that won't fit in our system. Just because they're a big name doesn't mean they're going to work out with us. So, anyway, getting back to Uche, I think he's going to be a dominant player, a dominant player on this team. He's going to. I think it's just this is a whole new life for him. Similar to what D-Hop said. When you play meaningless football, you get tired of it after a while. And then when you get on a team that, been to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, won 3 of them, potentially can go every year. I mean, they're the front runners for the Super Bowl in the AFC every single year. Why wouldn't you want to come in here and do your best? You definitely want that second contract. You want to come back, even if it's for a 1 year deal. You'll want to come back. And these guys, everybody just wants to come back. You know, Kareem Hunt said it, and we talked about this on Tuesday. He said, "There's no place I'd rather be." Why would you not want to be in a great culture, a great atmosphere with great fans on a Super Bowl winning team? And it's the talk of the league. And that's what pisses a lot of people off is that they're, even when it comes to players, GMs, coaches, they don't understand why everybody loves this team so much. Players love this team so it's not a fluke. It's because it's the way this culture is built. So every player that wants to be dominant, come in and play for a great football team, have fun doing it, they want to come here. Is what it is. I think he's going to be a force, a dominant force when it all is said and done. And FAU, look, if you're playing if you're at the back seat to this kid or this guy for a while, learn from him. Because that's what you really should be doing. Instead of being upset about it, learn from him. Because that's what these guys are there for. Sky Moore, learn from D-Hop. You didn't want to listen to anyone else. Maybe you'll listen to a 32-year-old guy that's been a top 5-10 receiver his entire career. Because you're now on IR.
Hey, there was pictures of him with the surgery.
Well, but that's something that was avoidable. He was moved to clear space.
I know. We had this conversation.
Yeah. So he's lucky he got the extra 2 weeks out of it that he got. If Veach could have signed somebody within those 2 weeks, he would have been on IR then, because Veach was ready to pull the trigger 2 weeks ago. Is what it is. I want to say this really quick because, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Man, Charvarius Ward, his daughter passed away. She's 1 year old, and she died Monday. I feel horrible for that guy. He went through a ton with his daughter, heart surgery, Down syndrome, and then she just passed away just on Monday. This poor guy has been through it, and man, our hearts go out to him because I don't know how. That's the worst thing a parent can go through, regardless of the situation, regardless of if it's an if or maybe or whatever. When it happens, and that's horrible. So I know he used to listen to our show. I hope he still does. He's probably not right now, but if he comes back to it, man, we're thinking about you because that's horrible. Nobody should have to go through that. Nobody should ever have to bury their kid, and you're doing it. You're a strong guy. That's all I can say. So anyway, I had to get that out there because that was horrible. Poor guy, man. Anyway, I think it's going to be a CB. What do you think, Quentin? You think a CB is coming next? I do.
I'm still thinking that one of the returning friends, is on the table. I just think that they need more wide receiver depth. I mean, today we keep seeing more and more wide receivers get hurt. Stephon Diggs on a non-contact injury blew his knee out.
Yeah.
Where we just keep seeing these sort of injuries come out there, and Kansas City has continued to see those all year, and I think it would be a mistake to try and just bring one guy in and be like, problem solved, when you've lost two of your guys for the season, and at least for the regular season. And then Juju Smith-Schuster, look, the guy's a really good wide receiver when he's on the field, but can't stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
We've seen McCall Hardman get hurt in the past, so I would just, for the sake of just being able to have someone play the position, even if it's something like, you go and steal somebody off of someone's practice squad, which to me, when you're talking about the cornerback room, I think that that's what they do for the cornerback room. If they're going to make a move, they go and steal somebody off a practice squad. I think that's what they're going to do there. I just don't see them being able to make a move for a cornerback with some low draft capital as effective as it would be to go and do the exact same thing with a pick to go for a wide receiver.
I mean, you may very well be right. I mean, they gave up what, a 6th round pick or 2026 6th round pick.
Yeah, for Uche.
Which is nothing. But for us, it's something because we usually get really great players out of that, out of the high draft picks like that. But um, it's not going to hurt us. Veach has probably already calculated how many he's going to have in 2026. So why not give one up? I'm sure he's probably already had two sitting there. That's just how he operates. I agree that they could do that with a corner. They couldn't do. I mean, if they're going to do that with a wide receiver, pull up who you got in the system, kind of like they did with Washington. Pull another guy up if you want depth for wide receiver, and you don't want to give up draft capital because right now, I think with the way they're going down, the draft capital is going up for whatever wide receiver needs to be traded, or wants to be traded, or is going to be traded. The draft capital is going to go up for them when they're dropping like flies like this. Every team's going to need them. So they're going to give up. The teams are going to start asking more for them because it's supply and demand.
I know, but the funny thing is that every wide receiver that's been traded has gone for less and less every single time.
Yeah, but now it's gotten to the point where, I mean, these players are. I mean, look, what did I'm sure Philip remembers. I didn't see the trade compensation for what's his face out of Carolina, Washington. What was the trade compensation? I can't remember, but it wasn't.
It was a pick swap.
Yeah, it was a pick swap.
It was like a sixth round,
fifth
for
a sixth
swap.
It was a fifth for a sixth. It wasn't an even swap.
Yeah.
It was like I don't think so. I think it was a fifth for a sixth.
Yeah, they swapped a fifth and a sixth. The Panthers moved up like 12 picks with this pick swap.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's not a lot.
It's not. That's nothing. That's.
But
nothing.
you also had a play. But they also knew they had a player that was not happy. And sometimes you just have to cut bait. And look, man, it's Carolina. They're fucking stupid. I mean, honestly, look at the mistakes they have made, not only with trades, but everything else that they have done over the last 5 years. They're a terrible, terrible organization. Everybody knows that. Probably the worst in the league. So I think premier teams, if you're talking about, teams that have actually seen a Super Bowl in the last decade, the Rams, the Eagles, teams like that, even the Browns, if they had somebody they wanted to get rid of, they would actually probably ask for more than, because they're on rebuild mode. All these teams that are doing this they're going into rebuild mode, whether it be a certain position or the entire team. It could be a fire sale, but they're going to have good, a good capital to go into the draft with. So with the supply going down, I think it's probably going to be where, okay, well, you want this guy. I know you need him. We need draft capital. We want this instead of what they're actually worth. I think you're going to see it go up instead of going down. Carolina is look, I wouldn't even consider what they did even somewhat intelligent because it's not. But he's a great football player. He just wanted out really bad. Yeah, Carolina got a fifth round pick. Baltimore got a 2025 sixth round pick. It essentially is almost an even swap when you consider it's 12 spots. If that was a third round pick for, say, a fourth for a third, 12 spots would be a big difference because everybody's looking for those players.
Not.
But it's not. So that's just a mistake, I think, on Carolina's part because that team's it's a dumpster fire. It has been for a long time. The owner's ignorant. The GM's ignorant. The head coach is he might as well be riding the dumpster down the street while it's on fire, which is basically what he's doing.
Since Cam Newton didn't jump on a football in the Super Bowl, that franchise has been going downhill.
Man, and Khan is an idiot. But regardless, I think some of these teams that are going to be doing these trades, some trade because they need someone else. You're going to see player-for-player trades probably come up in the next few days. Well, I want this guy, you want that guy, so let's just do a little swap. We've seen that before. I think, and Philip's right, I think the Ravens did that out of desperation. When they lost to the Browns, and then I think Flowers got hurt in that game, if I'm not mistaken. He played again. And I agree with you. The Texans did need help, and that was a dick move on their part. But that's the Ravens. You got to expect it. That's what they do. They're no different than Buffalo. They try everything they can, one, to beat the Chiefs, and two, to screw other teams. And, when Diggs went down, he's out for the year. They definitely needed a wide receiver. They made the move as soon as they could to get that player off the market. He may not even work out in that system. He may not work out there. It's a totally different system. We'll have to see. But I do think that, if the Chiefs are going to go after somebody on the practice squad, if somebody else, if it's a wide receiver, just pick up who you got, because you're not going to get any better from somebody else's practice squad. You're just not. Philip's right. Their defense is terrible. The Ravens, they're picking up firepower, and I mean, they need defense. They have no pass rush. Their corners aren't that great. They don't have a good run game anymore, a run stop game anymore. They just don't have it. Their defense has dropped off so much from last year. It's insane. And it's weird that it did, because they didn't lose a lot of players. So I don't know.
Defensive coordinator.
They lost their defensive coordinator, and it's killing them. I thought, looking at Harbaugh and knowing he's kind of a defensive guy, you'd think that defense would be okay with him being there, but it's not. It's not okay. They're a bad defense. I don't know where they're ranked right now. They may be ranked a little higher than they should be because of how they were last year, but they're not very good. They gave it 29 points to Jameis Winston, who had a career game, not just a career game, but the first game he started since 2022. He hasn't thrown a football really in 2.5 years. Yet he goes out there and drops 29 on him, 360 some odd yards, and was just killing it. The Ravens didn't look good in that game.
Their run defense is good. It's their pass defense that's really, really bad.
Yeah, it's their pass defense. Yeah.
I want to talk about just some of the quick notes from the Raiders game. I wanted to look at the Chiefs offense first, because I think there's a lot to talk about there. So I just want to spend like 10 minutes on this.
Yeah.
Here are just my little sticky notes that I have for the game. My first one is that JP needs to admit he's wrong. This is word for word. JP needs to admit he's wrong about Travis Kelce being washed. So,
oh my God, kiss my ass.
You can apologize to all of Chiefs Kingdom. I'm ready to accept your apology.
Oh, kiss it right now. My ass is wide open. You can just kiss it. Look, man, Kelce, he needed to be utilized. Been saying it. Had a fit over it on this show, and they're utilizing him. But you know what? Thank you, D-Hop. Thank you, because you are the reason why he was able to get open. Every time any of his explosive plays, right there, that number 8 right there is the reason why Kelce looks so good. Not the only reason. Kelce's still the best in the league, but he needed help. I mean, you can't send a tight end out there with no one on the outside and expect teams to not double, especially a tight end like him, and expect teams to not double and triple you. That's what they did the first 5 weeks. 6 weeks, really. 5 weeks. Then all of a sudden, boom, Kelce had a decent game the week before, but this week, because D-Hop was out there, they didn't know which way Mahomes was going to go. They had no idea. And that's what he needed. He needed some help. Any tight end that's out there that's got any numbers at all has a great supporting cast. And for somebody that's 35 years old, being doubled and tripled out there, that tells you how good he still is. But he needed some help, and he's got it. Just the presence of him being out on the field fucked with that defense. And that's what we needed. I'm so happy for him. He got his touchdown. He got his yards, pretty much 100 yards.
90 yards on the day.
Yeah, 91 yards and a touchdown. You can't complain. A 35-year-old dude out there putting 91 yards on somebody.
I mean, I didn't hear an apology, but
well, there's no apology to begin with, because I never said those words.
I was waiting for that one in the mail. So
I was pissed at the team more than I was pissed at anybody else. Kelce did nothing wrong.
We already kind of hit on my second note with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
My notes are just great routes and aggressive catching. That's literally what my notes are. I mean, we saw him, right? That first quick catch, this is a guy that he doesn't have the speed that he used to, but I mean, just look at that, right? Go
Yeah,
aggressive, going and getting the ball. He wasn't used on that many plays, but can you blame the guy? This is only going to get better moving forward, and I
yep.
think that's exactly what Kansas City was looking for. It's exactly what we wanted to see from him. You couldn't have asked more from him. It was phenomenal.
And you're going to see a lot more of him moving forward. The Andy kind of alluded to it, but Andy does this anyway. Regardless, he's not going to show all of his cards. D Hop didn't need the rest. You just got to get him acclimated. But in the same aspect, Andy doesn't like showing his cards. If he went out there against a shitty Raiders football team and showed his cards and everything D Hop can do right off the bat, people are going to start scheming for him really quick. You're going to see more of him during the Bucks game. Then when it starts, you get into like some of the divisional games that are coming up after that, the Bills, you're going to really see him explode. That's what you're going to see. He's going to change. He's going to change this offense. And Mahomes, all the rhetoric about Mahomes being bad and blah, 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 that's all going to change. Yeah, he's had his interception issues. But again, not all of those are on him. And if you really consider it and look at it from any kind of deeper perspective, you could probably say that 80% of those weren't on him. Wide receivers have to be in the right position. He's so used to having guys that just knew how to read him. Knew if he rolled out of the pocket, I got to go find a place and sit down. I got to get an open spot. Not just one, but maybe two guys. Kelce did it. Rice did it. Rice was very good at it. Of course, Tyreek was good at it. Everybody knew how to get open for him. Some of these guys just don't. They're newer. They know their routes. They know how to run their routes, but they don't know how to improvise. D-Hop knows how to improvise. And I think that's going to be a huge, huge, huge advantage for this offense. Yeah. All that talk and all that bullshit about Mahomes is all going to have to be taken back.
Yeah, like I said, you couldn't ask more from him. I think is exactly what you wanted from him, and it's only going to get better. Especially, they have an extra day with the game being on Monday, so this is just gonna continue to get better and better.
Absolutely.
My final notes here, and this one is not as fun. It's not as positive. It's just I literally just wrote down Chiefs tackles ?
Fuck.
I'm not sure the Chiefs have tackles at this point.
That is something that just gets me pissed off. And during the game, doing the play-by-play, the live play-by-play, I was animated. And I know Philip was too, because it was insane to watch. And look, Taylor causes a lot of problems every week. There's no doubt. He's not a great tackle. He's just not. He's definitely not good. Even when he's not causing penalties, he's still a problem. But Wanya Moore's had issues. I don't know what Veach is going to. I mean, could have said he was going to go out and get a left tackle, but the one that was out there that was actually really good got signed today. Cam got signed today. So you could say potentially he could go after one, but it's not. Why would you do that now? It's too late in the season. It takes a while to get used to playing with Mahomes as a offensive lineman. So you just kind of have to grin and bear it right now. And that's the one mistake Veach made this year, and Andy made, was not stiffing up that spot. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Philip. Both of them need to be revamped. This year coming up, that's probably what you're going to see. And I bet Veach is kicking himself in the ass right now because he didn't sign anybody that he should have signed during the draft, or even put depth there. I'm okay with Kingsley. I mean, he's going to have problems when he goes up, when you figure he's going to go up against some really tough players. I mean, I think that was kind of proven with the Cincinnati game. But move him over. In my opinion, move him over. No, not Donovan Smith. Cam, what's his name? Cam. What the hell's his damn name? Cam. What's his name, Philip? Cam Johnson? I can't remember now. He's really good.
My thing. about Kingsley and Wanya Morris is that
Cam Robinson. That's him.
it it takes so long for guys to get acclimated to the NFL, especially at the tackle position. I mean, the offensive linemen in general don't reach what their level is until year 3 or 4, and that's especially true for tackles. So we don't really know what we have in Wanya Morris or Sua Mataya, and we aren't going to know for a little bit. And unfortunately, and Andy Reid has brought this up too, is that there's just going to be growing pains,
Yeah.
and it's just unfortunate that it just like you get 2 holding calls back to back, and you're pushed back to the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to hope that whenever something like this happens, it doesn't come back to bite you. And it's just the problem really is that it's both tackle positions at the same
It
time.
is. That's the problem. It's
Uh,
exactly right. They bring up Donovan Smith, and that would have been fine at the beginning of the season. But this man has been sitting on his couch.
Wanya Morris and Sua Mataya are your options now. That's it.
That's really it. I mean, Donovan Smith has been sitting too long. It would take him a while to get back into football shape, I think.
And you can't go back and forth between the two of them. That's not an option either. You
No.
can't rotation. You can't do this by committee. You got to pick one and stick with one. Yeah. And after game 1, they said, we're going with Wanya Morris. So this is ride or die Wanya Morris time.
And, I guess with Donovan Smith, you could bring him back and he would, give him a couple of weeks sitting behind, maybe throwing him in a couple of plays, but it's going to take him a while to get back to normal. I agree with bringing White in from the Rams. I like that idea. I just don't know about Donovan Smith now because he's been sitting for so long. He's still on the trade block or on the free agent block, and I don't know if there's a reason why nobody signed him. It's because he's been sitting too long now. So he knows he's good. He did really well for us. I'm kind of surprised that Veach didn't bring him back earlier in the season, but you don't really know until you know. It takes a while to get to realize that, oh shit, I got a problem here. So we'll just have to see what happens. If they bring Smith in for depth right now and then he gets back into football shape, I'm all for that. I didn't have a problem with him from the beginning. I was a little surprised he didn't come back, but I think Kingsley should get that opportunity again. I would swap him out with Taylor, to be honest with you. Put Taylor over on the left.
I don't want a rookie and a second-year player playing. And Wanya Morris is essentially a rookie because he didn't play last year.
No, I said move Taylor over to the left and put Kingsley on the right. Okay. Kingsley's actually better in that position. He's more acclimated to play in that position and on the right side. He's played left, but he's more inclined to play the right side. We kind of moved him over there. It didn't work out for him really well, but again, he's in a position that he doesn't normally play, and he's a rookie. Why not give him? And I agree. I mean, Taylor's actually, from what I heard, he's not horrible on the left. Now, I haven't seen much of him playing on the left. I really need to look at that film, but from what I hear, he's how should I say this? He doesn't jump as often. He's stronger on the left than he is on the right. I don't know that for sure. I've heard this from people, but I don't know that for sure. But you got to give him a shot. I mean, the left it's a tough spot to play. You got to. I would be more worried about Kingsley playing the left right now, just given the fact that he's a rookie in the NFL. Taylor's had, his time in the NFL, and plus he's played both positions. I would give him at least a half or even a full game to see how he does, and then go from there. If Mahomes is under a ton of pressure, if he's running for his life, then it's a different story. But I don't know, man. We got to do something because that can potentially cost you some games or a player, and we don't need that. Mahomes got hit last week when that dude landed on his ankle, and it was his bad ankle, and it re-aggravated it again. We don't want that again, man. We just don't. He played the rest of the game. He looked okay. But once you have a high ankle sprain, it never really goes away. And it's something that you just have to get used to the pain. and you got to walk on it easily or run on it easily. You have to be careful when you're getting hit. I don't know. That's really, and you're right, Philip. He does need to work on body control, and also his lower body strength is good. His upper body strength is what made me a little bit nervous watching him in that Cincinnati game. He stood straight up a lot. Instead of getting his angle and putting his weight into it with his arms and his chest, he was standing up and getting bulldozed. And that's something that he's got to learn not to do. And that's his body control. That's really what it is. Um, like you said. So I don't know, man. They got to fix something because when you go up against a good pass rush, like, you know, we have this year, Mahomes can get hurt. And we don't want that. Either that or you're going to have to give these guys some help. You know, we did that with McKinnon, and he did a great job of it. We don't have that luxury right now other than Carson Steele. If we want to put him out there as a blocker to help, whether it needs to be situational situation, whether it could be either helping out Wanye or helping out Taylor, something has to happen because both of those guys are having issues. And it's got to get fixed, you know. And I don't know what their plan is. I don't know. I don't think they're planning on bringing anybody in for that position this year. So maybe they are going to start giving him some help, you know, somebody that can really block out there and, you know, that second effort block, you know, keep him away from Mahomes long enough to where he's got the time to throw the ball and not have to be under so much pressure. But those two guys they're the weak links, and it's jacking up the entire chain. It's just collapsing the chain. And, you know, we don't need that right now. So we're getting into that part of the season, Quentin, where teams are going to play you harder. We got 2 Broncos games coming up. We got, you know, another Chargers game coming up. We got another Raiders game coming up. All of those AFC West teams want to just figure out a way of beating us somehow. And Sean Payton is a dickhead. We all know that. He's a complete dickhead. And he will do anything he can to either injure someone or run the score up or figure out a way of, even if he's I hate to say it that way, but he's just a dickhead. And he wants to be the best. He's not even close to it, but he wants that notoriety. And if he can get it, he's going to do it. I mean, he had a player the other day accuse him of running up the score. So I tend to worry a little bit about that kind of stuff because those are the things that certain teams just want to make sure we're out one way or another. Whether it's a player, they'd love to see Mahomes go down for the year. I know Peyton would, especially since he's winning a few games. He would love to see Mahomes not be there. Got to watch out for that kind of shit, man, because it's dangerous. What else we got, Quentin?
Those are my offensive notes. On the defensive side, the only thing that I really have questions about and is the cornerback room, but we've already kind of talked about that. Najee Johnson is in concussion protocol, and we won't know anything for another couple of days about that.
He's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks at least.
Honestly, other than that, no notes. Trent McDuffie's still good. Chris Jones is still good. Karlaftis got another sack. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about there. The Raiders' offense is bad. They handled Brock Bowers pretty well after the first quarter. I mean, they held them to 0 receptions for 2.5 quarters after that, first initial stint. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty happy.
And that's a good sign right there, though, Quentin, if you think about it, because we were struggling against tight ends at the beginning of the season. The first 4 or 5 games, we were struggling. So to be able to keep him at 0 reception after that little stint, that's a good sign. I want to give a shout out to Mike Pennell. Holy crap, dude. That guy is, every time he gets in the game, running backs they might as well just walk off the field. That dude just doesn't let running backs through. For a 35-year-old guy to come out and play that position the way he plays it, he just stuffs running backs in the mouth. I mean, he doesn't know any other way of playing the game. And he does it right. The smartest thing we could do, or we did, was bring him back again. Because he is an animal. He is a complete animal when it comes to that position. I know this is probably going to be his last year because he is 35 years old. But damn, I would love to see him come back for one more. I mean, we don't, unless we can find another guy that can do the exact same thing he does every time he comes on the field, that might be a problem for us moving forward after this season if we don't find somebody that can fill his shoes. Because he's an animal, dude. He's a beast. To come out and play the way he does, I don't know, man. We're lucky. We're lucky to have him back on the team. So the defense looked good to me, other than Johnson, having his few issues. I think he hurt his ankle too. If I'm not mistaken, his ankle is hurt as well. And I think that's why I was told that he might be out a couple of weeks. If it wasn't as bad as they initially thought, his ankle, then he might be okay. But I know his ankle did get hurt in that game, along with the concussion. So they're going to have to do something in the cornerback area. Now, I know, and I don't know why I can never remember his name. Philip, the kid that comes in, the safety, plays special teams most of the time. Came in and got an interception, like right off the bat why can't I think of his name? I know you know who I'm talking about, Philip. That kid can play both positions. He's good as a corner. He's good as a safety. Yeah, Hayden. The guy is a beast.
And that was a draft pick this year.
Yes, he was. And he is good. He is a future star. He can play both positions. He's a good slot corner. He's a very good safety. I think he's going to be that guy that everybody goes, oh shit, why didn't we draft him? Because he's going to be that dude. He's him. He's gotten 2 interceptions, if I'm not mistaken, on the season, and both times it was like he just stepped out of nowhere and got it. I'm not going to, Wallace is a pretty good player. He's raw, but he's a good player. I don't think he's the guy that is going to be the fix-all to anything in the CB area. But he's another one that, give him some time, he's going to be really good. I think Nazi, I like him as a player. He's got speed. He just tends to get turned around a lot. And I've noticed that over the last 3 weeks, he gets turned around a lot. And that scares me a little bit. He just doesn't have the awareness yet. He'll get it. He got injured last year, was out for the season. And then absolutely Otis Taylor should be in the Hall of Fame, Will. Absolutely. He's one of the best players the Chiefs ever had. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's insane. But, yeah, he's going to be another one that, I think Nazi needs to really work on his ball awareness. And not only that, he needs to learn how to read the quarterback a little bit better. He tends to follow his guy, but he never pays attention to what the quarterback's looking at while he's following his guy. And some of the best CBs, if you look at Trent McDuffie, he can read a quarterback, read a quarterback extremely well. Nazi doesn't have that yet. But after being injured last year, coming in this year, getting kind of thrown into the mix because, of an injury, it's going to be difficult for him. We need a little bit more depth in that area. And somebody that actually has ball awareness, has player awareness, can read a quarterback. You got to be able to feel it, not just run follow your guy and think you did your job.
Well, and I think Shamari Connor's going to take over some of those roles too, because he can play both defensive back and some corner roles, especially out of the slot.
Yeah, he's another one that I love. That kid, he is a beast.
Don't take him away from me.
Hey, you know who had a great game? I tell you what, man, he was all over the place. Was Drew? He was all over the place, dude.
Yes, and actually, I'm happy you brought that up because I think how they were using Drew Tranquil is how they want to use Uche.
Yep.
And that was one of the things that when I saw the trade, that immediately made me think of that because Uche has played sort of that outside linebacker and defensive edge role. So I think you're going to see him play some of those roles that they had Chanel play.
Yeah, I agree. And if they move Connor and kind of do a little bit of rotating, I think he would probably play a dual role. With that, I think he'd play both edge and linebacker. Nick Bolton had an injury too to his arm, and I think it's the same arm that's been injured a couple of times before. He came back out. He played really well, but he had a wrap on it, a pretty good size wrap, and I think that was something that they also looked at and went, maybe we need some help. He's extremely fast. Uche is so damn fast. He's athletic, he's quick, and he's extremely strong. He's really good as an edge rusher. He's so fast off the ball. He kind of reminds me of Frank Clark because Frank was extremely quick off the ball. Can read a quarterback's eyes, get through, do your job, and move forward. That's how Frank was for a long, long time. And I think that's what you're going to see out of this kid. He's a good ball player. But I do agree with you. I think he's going to probably play dual role for a little bit, especially if Bolton is injured a little while. Yeah, he is like Micah Parsons, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody's heard about that, but Parsons is not very happy either right now. I don't know if anybody knows that, but rumor is that he is not happy and wants out. So we'll see what happens with that. But it looks like he's pretty much done with the whole situation down there. But he should be pissed. I mean, I'd be pissed too if I was, an elite ball player and stuck in that shit. But you picked I guess you didn't pick it, but you decided to stay there for a little while. You know what you get when you get with that jack off. So it kind of is what it is. You hear all the rumors, and a lot of times they're true. But yeah, man. I mean, we're gonna have to figure out something to do with the CB area. I think we're okay with everything else. I don't see really a problem. Justin Reid, there's times, and I don't know if you've noticed this, Quentin. I have. There's times that he seems like he's just not all in when it comes to each play, and other times he looks like he's just
running around with his hair on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot like Chris Jones in a sense, where sometimes it feels like Chris Jones is kind of going through the motions, but when that flip is switched, it's just something else.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We're finally getting those interceptions and stuff that we always talk about we don't get. We're finally seeing those, and that's a good sign. I mean, that's a really good sign. I think with a couple of additions like we're doing right now, this defense will definitely be number one overall by the end of the season. I have no doubt. Maybe even sooner. Right now, I think we're ranked fourth or maybe third now. We might be moved. I don't know. We might have moved up to third, then to fourth, and we might be back at fourth in like a hard fourth right now. But there's certain areas that most of the areas we're number one in the league. We're not number one in sacks, that's for sure. We're, like you said, sixth overall in pressures, which isn't horrible. So it's just a little bit tweaking here and there. But I'm okay with that, dude. I mean, how many years did we wait around, watch Mahomes, the 27th ranked defense, the 25th ranked defense, the 23rd ranked defense, 17th ranked defense, and then all of a sudden we were 11th, then we were second, and now we're fourth. I'm okay with that. We need that. We need that help right now. So I'm good with all of it. I mean, I'm not complaining. And I'm glad Kelce's getting his opportunities now. And all he needed was some help. That was it. I mean, at the beginning, it was a little bit of gamesmanship with Andy. He had Rice out there. It looked like we weren't going to utilize him as much. But then Rice goes down. We don't really have anybody. And it was time for him to get involved. And he did. As soon as D-Hop got on the field, his game changed. It's crazy, man. But that tells you the power of one player. And it's crazy to think that one guy can draw the attention of a defense. I mean, but people that don't understand it, look what Kelce did to defenses and still does to defenses every week. When we had great wide receivers on the field, Kelce was drawing people and still making catches because defenses would break off of him when they saw another guy come down the field. It's all just it's a fluid motion. You got to have the right players on the field. Kelce's finally got that, and he's going to have more than this game. He's going to have a lot of games. He's got 10 games left to make himself dominant again. And he's going to do that. You mark my words. He'll be 900 yard guy this
Hey,
year.
you were the hater, not me. Don't
Hey, I was
don't
never
say
the
this
hater.
mark my words stuff. This was on you.
Hey, Thiz, I want you to do me a favor. When I had that rant, I want you to go back and see if I ever cut Kelce down. And then Quentin's going to owe me 2 bottles of barbecue sauce.
That's the show.
That is it. We will talk to you guys again on Thursday. Hopefully, we'll have some more news for you. And that's about it. We will talk to you guys then. Peace out, everybody.